What is peace? I feel that peace is a point of no mental conflict. It's a stillness of the mind, a point where our minds are quiet and there are no thoughts flowing in or out. You can probably hear yourself saying, I can't turn off my mind. But how much anguish do we put ourselves through due to our minds? Even right now, your mind is telling you how to feel about the words I'm saying, so much so that it is distracting you from everything else that's happening around you. The mind works very much like a computer. It shuffles everything that your senses bring into it into categories. It makes comparisons and contrasts, takes measurements, sorts and files. It evaluates faces, places, and situations against its database of memories in order to speed processing time. Information that is similar gets filed together, and everything is placed in its nice little box. As the mind sorts all these mental attachments, it places itself in relation to all these other things. We begin to say to ourselves, I am this and not that. Hence, we become separate from the world around us. Most of the time the mind is awake, it needlessly mulls over things that have happened earlier that day or items that haven't yet happened. Have you ever noticed your mind sputtering dialogue like, I can't believe this happened today, or I hope I don't get stuck in traffic? We spend a lot of our time throughout the day in the past and future, rather than having our attention focused on the present moment. We would rather be someplace else or in some other time because we feel that there's something wrong with right now. What kind of a person would you say you are? As soon as I ask that question, your mind starts reeling with images of everything that labels you. This mental commentary is usually how we learn to identify ourselves. We have mental attachments to the things we have, our job, our car, the street that we live on, our name, our sign, our reflection, our family, our pets, what we do in our spare time. This is who we think we are. When we lose something we had, we think we are less than who we were before we lost it. For instance, if I gave you the keys to a sports car and told you it was all yours, and on the way out to the parking lot you dropped the key down a weather drain, how would you feel? Probably devastated if you really liked cars. But what changed? Why should you feel like you are less now than before you had it? We should at least break even if we still don't have the car. But the idea that it was mine changes everything in the mind. It had a car in its inventory. Now it's gone. How often do we do this to ourselves? When someone cuts in front of us in a line? When we get a scratch on our cars? It's a roller coaster of ups and downs, happiness and depression, all based on the mind's relationship with things in its inventory. This identification with the world around us separates us from that world. As our minds attach labels to the things we interact with, we forget that everything is made of the same basic stuff. The same as that rock, or that tree, or that puddle. We are no different when it comes right down to it. We lose our peace when we identify ourselves. This is often referred to as our ego, or our mind's sense of self. When we say, I am a this person, I am not a that person, our mind takes a stance as to who it is. Then instantly, a myriad of mental associations connected with this ideal rush in, and our minds want to defend whom it thinks it is. If something is proven to be opposed to our way of thinking, it triggers an emotional response, most often negative. Happiness can never be brought on by anything outside of us. We say, I will be happy when I get my promotion, or when I move. But how often do we reach that next precipice, only to find that there's more conflict and unhappiness there too? You will never find happiness in this way, because every time you attain the thing that you needed to fill a hole inside yourself, a new hole opens up. Well, this would be much better if it had this accessory. That fleeting moment of happiness after getting something is instantly washed over with a need for the next. It's an endless cycle of jails you are placed in by your mind. This is not to say to be without goals, dreams, and ambitions. But here's the tricky part. You must pursue your dreams, but not attach to them. If you have a target and miss your mark, don't tell yourself that you are a poor caliber person. Just correct your aim and fire again. Release the arrow and empty the mind. The concept of the yin and yang is that everything that is perceived as good has an equal amount of bad associated with it, and vice versa. There is no failure, no success. There is only cause and effect. the movement of potential to kinetic energy. Every moment you have a choice when presented with conflict. You can crash into it or you can flow around it. But don't dwell, because you must be ready for there's another rock in the stream ahead of you. Don't worry about hitting the rocks up ahead either. Just focus on what you can do right now. This is the way to peace.